at 10.
We begin tonight with breaking news. A man is now in jail after a stabbing in Moorhead.
Yeah, we heard the call come through just before 5 o'clock this evening. 24-year-old Chance Thibert with no permanent address is currently being held at the Cass County Jail, including felony attempted murder and felony second-degree assault. They say the victim was stabbed several times at an apartment in the 3000 block of 18th Street South with what they believe was some sort of hunting knife and is now being treated at Sanford. Police say Thibert and the victim knew each other. They also say this incident is not connected to the stabbing that happened in Moorhead just 5 days ago, where a 41-year-old was stabbed after confronting another man in his driveway.
Police are still looking for the suspect in that case. If you know anything, you're asked to call Moorhead Police.
In other news tonight, people in the FM area are up in arms after they say a lawn care business stole money from customers. Several people reached out to our whistleblower hotline claiming they paid for snow removal services that they never received.
Now, the owner of the company is no longer taking calls and appears to have closed up shop. Valley News Team's Reed Gregory tells us more.
Shoveling snow in the winter months can be, well, a pain, which is why many here in the Fargo-Moorhead area opt into hiring an outside service like Kiss My Grass, Lawn Care, and Landscaping to help handle the heavy lifting, which is exactly what Rebecca Aubart did back in November.
My husband, who's in the National Guard and was about to get deployed for a year, so he kind of gave it to me as a gift. It was supposed to be really helpful, but that quickly became not the case.
The Aubart's contract with the company states that they would cover through the first and last snow of the season, and that's something the Aubart family is saying hasn't happened so far.
So we do have a video and motion sensor camera at the front of our home, and I only have 2 documented times that they did come to our house since that first snow in December.
Other affected customers have expressed their anger and frustration with the company's actions, and many have taken to social media and Google to share their stories and warn others. One customer stated he was scammed for $1,800, and another customer stating in a review just 2 weeks ago that his widowed sister hired the company after her husband had passed away, and they have not removed snow during the last 2 storms and are now no longer responding to phone calls or text messages. Now, the Better Business Bureau states on their website they take reports and complaints like this very seriously, and in most cases advise the victim to take legal action if necessary. However, for Aubart, she just wants answers.
Just owning up to the lack of communication, a partial refund for services that weren't done would be welcomed. But I mostly just want to get in contact. Maybe there is a reason. I always want to give people the benefit of the doubt.
Reporting in Fargo, Reed Gregory, Valley News Live.
We tried to reach out to the company several times. They haven't returned any of our messages either.
That story again came to us through our whistleblower hotline. You can call it as well if you need help with an issue in your community. 701-369-3187. Just leave your tip and we'll do our best to get to the bottom of it. All right, switching gears and taking a look outside tonight. It's looking okay right now, but we have more First Alert weather days in our forecast. First Alert Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Hutch Johnson is the details. Hutch.
Justin, thanks so much. Speaking of switching gears, we have switched gears into the season of spring. And you, our viewers, helping us to all get in that spring spirit because it don't look very spring-like out there on the snowbanks. Tracy, thanks for your photo. First Alert weather days for Tuesday and Wednesday as our winter beat continues. More snow is on the way and a lot of it for some of our counties, not all of our counties. Now we do have the big yellow area. That is a winter storm watch. That means we have the ingredients in place for a band of some very heavy snow. Models are just coming in for our late night run right now, and we're starting to get a little bit better idea that, well, we're going to have let's say a narrow band of pretty heavy snow, and some could see well over 6 inches. So begins Tuesday in the afternoon, moving in from the south, and it will shift north and east as we go through our Tuesday night and Wednesday. Most of the impacts will be overnight and into your Wednesday morning commute, the way the timing looks. Now, the snowfall forecast, this may be shifting just a little bit to the north, as a matter of fact, over what we were seeing in our previous model runs. But suffice it to say, lower impacts up in the far northern valley. Well, a rapid ramp up, 1 to 4 inches where you see this first shade of blue. And many will see 4 inches of snow in southeast North Dakota with a narrow band that will be upwards of 8 and even more inches of snow. We may see upwards of 11 inches in a few locations. Wet, heavy, back-breaking snow on the way. Temperatures overnight tonight will slip down to around 10 degrees. The clouds build in. That keeps us from getting too low too quickly in Grand Forks. Similarly, we're talking single digits. We'll have hour-by-hour details and when the snow starts in your neighborhood, how much you can expect, and we'll talk more about that long-range forecast as our winter in spring continues.
Not done yet. Thanks, Hutch.
Fargo police are investigating after someone came forward saying several drinks were drugged at a dart tournament at the Ramada on 13th earlier this month. This isn't something police say they see a lot of, but when they do, they can be difficult cases to crack.
We take any allegation of suspected drugging very seriously, so the sooner we can get that report to us, the faster we can follow up with it, and the more likely it is that we'll get accurate information and be able to determine what actually happened.
Now, if you are drugged, officials say symptoms can start in as little as 30 minutes, which is why police say it's important to keep a close eye on the people you're with when you're out and get tested as soon as possible.
New for you tonight, Fargo police released total crime stat numbers for 2022 during tonight's city commission meeting, and most types of crime fell compared to the year before.
Yeah, drug and narcotics violations, they say, dropped 18%. Burglaries and breaking and entering incidents dropped 24%. Motor vehicle theft charges fell 23%. On the negative side, rape and aggravated assault incidents both rose 22%.
Sentencing were handed down today in 2 cases involving former teachers and inappropriate relationships with students.
Ruthie Carlson was fired as lunch supervisor for Fargo schools in December of 2021 after inappropriate conduct with a 14-year-old middle school student was posted on social media. She was found guilty of gross sexual imposition, child neglect, and possession of drugs.
The former band teacher at Fargo South was handed the same sentencing. Sebastian Tackling, convicted of corruption of a minor after having a sexual relationship with a 17-year-old girl for about a year. He was arrested in late November and resigned a short time later. Both Tackling and Carlson initially denied the allegations, but later admitted to them.
A Fargo memory caregiver has been sentenced to 2 years in prison after a deadly assault involving one of her patients. Rachel Cooper was convicted of negligent homicide in the death of 78-year-old Gary Pearson. Police say that happened at Mapleview Memory Care in August of 2021. Documents say Cooper was cleaning his bathroom when the two started struggling over the bathroom door, saying video shows Cooper push Pearson, which helped lead the medical examiner to rule the death as a negligent homicide.
Tonight, city commissioners accepted the resignation of West Fargo's administrator Tina Fisk, who served in that role for 7 years. Officials say Fisk submitted her resignation last Wednesday, but they couldn't tell us what led up to the exit. We're working to learn more.
You can read more about that story and get the latest breaking news 24/7 with the VNL News app. That's free. Just search VNL News in the App Store today.
New for you tonight, a routine training mission for the North Dakota Air National Guard recently turned into a real-life search and rescue. Members of the 119th Wing were training at Anderson Air Force Base in Guam in February when a Fargo-based plane was ordered into action to find a boat and 3 people on board. Officials say they flew the entire mission from here in Fargo. They were able to find and rescue 2 people. However, the search was called off after 4 days for the third. We have an update on last week's roof collapse at a strip mall in Duluth. Some stores in the mall were finally able to reopen today after 6 days. Management at the Miller Hill Mall say many others will reopen soon. The mall is occupied by some national retail chain stores and some locally owned businesses whose owners say this closure has brought back the fear of living in the pandemic, wondering how they'll survive.
Today, the North Dakota State Senate passed legislation that would exempt sales tax on diapers in the state. That's projected to cost the state $1.75 million over the next 2 years. However, senators in the session showed their support for the bill.
21 states have exemptions on this issue, and like former speaker said, we exempt all kinds of strange little things. This is directly for young families, and it would be attractive as far as promoting our state.
The bill now goes to the Appropriations Committee for further discussion.
Earlier on in the legislative session, Minnesota DFLers pushed through the PRO Act, a piece of law enshrining the right to an abortion in the state. Today, a similar law is making its way through the House and is on its way to being signed by the governor.
Valley News Team's Quinn Gorham breaks down the Reproductive Freedom Act as it seeks its first passage in the state legislature.
While the PRO Act dealt mainly with reproductive care here in the state of Minnesota, the Reproductive Freedom Defense Act deals with protecting that right from other states. Monday, as demonstrators were outside the House chambers, that vote hit the House floor. The Reproductive Freedom Defense Act is a bill that, if passed, would create a number of provisions to protect privacy rights as they relate to reproductive care. Those provisions include commitments not to extradite women seeking an abortion to a state that has made that practice illegal. It also protects the release of their medical records and information from being used by those states to pursue any sort of legal action. The bill comes as states around the country pass or introduce legislation banning access to abortion. Just a few weeks ago, in fact, Iowa Republicans introduced a bill to ban the practice at the moment of conception. House DFLers here in Minnesota want to make sure if a law like that goes into effect anywhere near the state, its providers and those who seek access are protected.
They're not based on science, they're not based in healthcare, and they are disrupting the legal landscape regarding rights related to healthcare. As Minnesotans, we cannot stand idly by.
The vote saw pushback on the floor almost exclusively from Republicans. Those Republicans expressed concerns mainly about the legal implications of the bill. Several representatives rose to express concerns that the bill might open the door to lawsuits from other states. In the end, after an hour of discussion, the bill passed with a vote of 68 to 62. The bill will also need to be passed by the Senate before it heads to Governor Walz's desk to be signed into law. In St. Paul, I'm Quinn Gorham.
Later here on Valley News Live at 10, while Mother Nature didn't get the memo, two North Dakota sisters did. We'll show you how they're making the most of this first day of spring.
And spring temperatures, well, not so much. We did see some warmer readings out to the east where there were some low to mid 30s. A lot of sunshine, not as much wind as we've experienced. First alert weather days are back in the forecast beginning tomorrow. Details on when it starts and how much you can expect next.